Faisal. So, hello again and welcome. Thank you for joining us today during today's webinar. And during today's webinar, we're aiming to bridge opportunities between Luxembourg and UAE startups and innovation ecosystem. My name is Hinda Sumaiti. I'm a project manager at Dubai Future Foundation. And before we start our session, I will take you through our agenda of the webinar today. So our agenda would start with an opening remark from Sasha Bailey, CEO of Lux Innovation. Then we will welcome Omar Abdurraouf, Director of Special Projects at Dubai Future Foundation, to give his welcoming remarks as well. Moving forward to Faisal Al-Hawi, Head of Incubators, Accelerators, and Area 2071 at Dubai Future Foundation to give a presentation on Dubai Future Foundation and its initiatives. Finally, we'll have David Foy, Head of International Business Development, Digital Economy, Lux Innovation, to present a strategy and opportunity with a data-driven innovation partner. Finally, we will open the floor for the Q&A. Please feel free to put your questions at the Q&A button below. You will find it throughout our webinar. And to start, I would like to welcome Sasha Bailey, the CEO of Lux Innovation, for the opening remarks.
Thank you very much, indeed. Thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, good morning from Luxembourg. I'd like to first introduce myself. My name is Sasha Bailey and I'm the CEO of Lux Innovation, which is Luxembourg's national innovation agency. And we also take care of companies from abroad that want to use Luxembourg as their location inside Europe to reach the European market. So I'm really pleased actually to be here today because we're going to be able to really continue the journey we set out back in January 2020 between Lux Innovation and the Dubai Future Foundation when we signed an MOU. So although we're separated by 6,000 kilometers, our vision and our ambitions are very complementary. And this makes this a really exciting opportunity to learn, to exchange, and to build forward together. So here in Luxembourg, we are very fortunate to have a very solid, strong digital ecosystem. And this has also been laid out clearly in the Luxembourg government's data-driven innovation strategy. David will be talking more about this later. It also rests very much on the country's investments in support structures, such as really state-of-the-art data centers and a very solid also a telecommunication network. Now, what's also important is that we have very strong collaborative research centers in Luxembourg with expertise in artificial intelligence, high-performance computing, and we also have an automotive campus which brings together like-minded companies that are active in smart and autonomous driving. I'd also like to mention funding opportunities here and very much pro-business policies by the government that promote open innovation. And this in a secure environment that is really open to all. That is part of our key characteristic in Luxembourg. I'd like to mention, for instance, a project that is run by the Luxembourg Institute of Science and Technology, the LIST. And the idea here is to build a digital twin of the entire country. And this is an opportunity also for third parties to run simulations here in Luxembourg with this project at a country scale. I'd like to add to this, there's an emerging open data lake and the capacity of our HPC system. And when you think this through, the opportunities here really are endless. Our startup ecosystem, we're talking today also about startups, obviously, has also grown quite considerably over the last few years. We now count 15 incubators and accelerators in Luxembourg, and each have their own specific added value. They all house about 500 startups across sectors such as space, fintech, cybersecurity, health tech, logistics, clean tech, and industry. And I'd like to underline that they come from all over the world, and they have discovered Luxembourg as the ideal location to venture into European markets with their innovative business projects. We recently welcomed Dr. Patrick Nowak as a speaker during our annual technology conference here in Luxembourg, ICT Spring. Dr. Nowak, I understand, is the Executive Director, Future Foresight and Imagination at the Dubai Future Foundation. And he shared with us the concept of Dubai as a lab environment. And he laid out programs and proofing environments that have been integrated into real-life situations, such as the Silicon Oasis, which is, I understand, is a free zone that promotes modern technology-based industries in a living, working urban district. Now, due to the size and demographics of Luxembourg, we often refer to our entire country as a living lab. And we welcome foreign companies to come and test their innovations in our cities that really are eager to embrace smart applications for the good of the citizens or to reduce this ever-growing environmental impact. Now, the MOU between the Dubai Future Foundation and Lux Innovation provides a really good framework to give startups from both our countries an opportunity to make use of our respective living labs. 2021 is turning into a really exciting year now with people starting to travel. And I'm happy that almost after 2 years of restrictions, our very first trade mission from Luxembourg will be to Dubai in October. We have a delegation of around 65 people representing about 40 companies who are really eager to explore the opportunities in the Emirates. So I'd like to thank the Dubai Future Foundation, our Trade and Investment Office in Abu Dhabi, and the Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce for making this possible. I'd also like to thank the Committee of Expo 2020 for the incredible work over the last years in putting together the Expo under the harshest of conditions. And I'm particularly proud of the result of the Luxembourg Pavilion, where I'd like to invite you to visit us and discover the very many facets of our country. So let's now move on to the rest of today's session, where we will dive deeper into the many opportunities that both Dubai and Luxembourg have to offer. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us here today, for your interest, and I really look forward to meeting you in person in Dubai in a few weeks' time. So I look forward to this wonderful travel. Thank you.
Thank you, Sasha, and we look forward to meeting you as well. Now, thank you. I would like to invite Amr Abdurraouf, Director of Special Projects here at Dubai Future Foundation, for his welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Hind. Good morning to everyone who's in the morning time zone, and good afternoon here from Dubai. My name is Amr Abdurraouf, and I'm the Director of the Special Projects at the Dubai Future Foundation. On behalf of the foundation and our CEO, His Excellency Khalfan Belhoul, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you all to this webinar. I'd also like to extend a special welcome to my colleague and now friends, Sasha Bailey, the CEO of Lux Innovation, and David Foy, the Head of International Business Development at Lux Innovation. It was personally, to me, very refreshing for me yesterday while we were reviewing the material of this webinar to see that it also includes physical meetings and delegation visits. This indeed shows how the world is coping and recovering from the pandemic, and hopefully we all move ahead of these unsettled times very soon. I echo my friend Sasha here by saying and extending the invitation for all of you to visit Dubai and the Expo pavilions and the Expo event, and hopefully looking forward to hosting your delegation and the delegation that's coming through Lux Innovation to Dubai in the next couple of weeks. To shed a little bit of background about us at the Dubai Future Foundation, our mandate at the foundation given to us by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, UAE Vice President, Prime Minister and ruler of Dubai, is to position and keep Dubai as the leading city of the future. We work on transforming innovative ideas into realities and encourage disruptive thinking beyond the limitations of the ordinary. We also emphasize on building and fostering global collaborations and working closely with our partners who share the same goals, specifically with exporting and importing global knowledge amongst each other. Our gathering today is a reflection on that, following the partnership that has been signed between us. Earlier in the beginning of 2020, Lux Innovation in Luxembourg has joined our country in residence program as a step to further strengthen our ties and foster collaboration amongst us. When we look at the characteristics of both our countries, there are very similarities amongst us. We might be relatively small in terms of size and population compared to our surroundings. However, we are big with our ambitions, with our impact, with our hopes, with our willingness to innovate, whether they are in ecosystems, in government services, in services in general, or even in sectors. So our session today aims to take a step further in bridging between both of us, Lux Innovation and Dubai Future Foundation, and also Luxembourg and Dubai and the United Arab Emirates, creating awareness about both our ecosystems and how we can foster and prosper together. We hope that such platform and the dialogues that will occur today achieves our goal of sharing best practices and lessons learned to enable us both to enhance our startup and innovation ecosystems, and also to explore new avenues of cooperation between both of us. I want to thank you all for joining us today and wish you all a productive participation in the webinar and the best of opportunities for all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amr. Next, I'll hand over to Faisal Al-Hawi, Head of Incubators, Accelerators, and Area 2071 in the Dubai Future Foundation, where he will present the Dubai Future Foundation and its initiatives.
Thank you very much, Hind. Thank you, Ms. Sasha. Thank you, Mr. Amr, for your opening remarks. It's with great pleasure to welcome everybody here. And I guess maybe to start off, I think that's an initial seed that we always try to plant of injecting the best practices from both like different and global ecosystems and to create more opportunities. And I think that is the essence of what we do at the Dubai Future Foundation and Area 2071 specifically, which is creating the future together. We truly believe the value of innovation comes a lot from collaboration, working together and understanding, how to bring up new opportunities by tapping into different ecosystems, different individuals from different domains and backgrounds and so on. So without further ado, I'll try to keep this, as short, concise, and sweet as possible. To start off with what Mr. Amr has started saying about with the Dubai Future Foundation and the vision of creating that. And the way we look at it, it all started from the past. We were inspired to have great leadership that, looks beyond the scale of your typical strategy or foresight exercises, but really looking forward to like 100 years down the line. And this is where the UAE's Centennial Vision was created or established or set in place to inspire everyone in the nation and the globe of really positioning the UAE as the world's leading nation by 2071. And this is where we continue, we complete our 100 years from the establishment of the country. And one of the ways to do that is by establishing, the way we call it is a physical manifestation of that vision, a physical location, something that you can feel, you can see, you can be at the heart of. And this is what we call Area 2071. And then embody all of these aspects and aspirations within that. So going back in a very kind of like quick time capsule, back in 1971, this is where the entire, seed and the initiation of the country and the vision started, where our founding fathers, set the vision and always kind of like push the boundaries to really dream bigger, achieve more, and really inspire the entire globe to kind of like go through that route. 2016 was the year where the Dubai Future Foundation was launched to kind of like back up that vision with the mandate of really foresighting and imagining the future and then understanding what needs to be done today in order to get to that future, which goes without saying is a very difficult job. And that's why we embrace cultures such as learning from failure and continuously experimenting in such a dynamic environment. One of the initiatives that the Dubai Future Foundation oversees is Area 2071. And like I said, this is a space where we aspire to bring people from different backgrounds to work together to create or help us create that future. And the key word here is collaboration. We truly believe in the power and the ability of collaboration that goes beyond geographical boundaries, that goes beyond disciplines and so on, but really creates impact that we are all seeking. And hopefully we are on a journey from 2017 all the way to 2071 and beyond to really inspire better life for humans. So I always struggle with this, defining Area 2071. It's always a very dynamic thing to define, but the way we look at it is, again, for the lack of a better word, an ecosystem. And we've used that word a lot, and sometimes it becomes a buzzword, but it's basically a place where we try to gather all of these experts and talents and decision makers and policymakers in one place, under one roof, on the same table, to kind of explore the opportunities for the future. Multiple programs are run under Area 2071. We, as the Dubai Future Foundation, are situated in Area 2071. We have a startup co-working space in Area 2071. Most of our labs, which I'll touch base upon in a few slides, most of our accelerator programs all happen in Area 2071. So you could imagine just being in Area 2071 and the amount of talent and people and interesting backgrounds you'll just bump into. I mean, just having coffee here might, spark ideas and innovation, collaboration opportunities, and so on. And that's the intent. So the culture of, shoulder rubbing, the culture of cross-pollination between different people from different backgrounds and disciplines is really the essence of Area 2071. And we try to embed that in all programs that we kind of carry over in Area 2071. So you will meet people from different sectors and background here. It's not just about government. We as a federal country, we have at least three levels of government, like the federal, the local, and then the cross-city government. Private sector is also available here. We have the global presence of, the likes of EY or General Electric and so on in some of the initiatives. The core of it, startups and entrepreneurs, like the people who actually push the boundaries of innovation. A lot of academia representation is also here. And to the simplest of fact, the individuals, people who are just interested in specific areas or have deep expertise in specific areas, you will find them here. Or at least we are trying to create a destination to attract these people to be part of Area 2071. Now, in terms of offering, we try to look at it from three different perspectives, and that's looking at it from your journey as someone who would be in this ecosystem. And that's why we look at it from access, which is your first point of interaction, all the way to being part of the future, and how could we support your growth in the area in between. So when it comes to access, everything that has to do with, incorporation of startups, getting business licenses, co-working spaces, access and introduction and facilitation to potential clients or government entities. Once you establish that, how do you carry it forward? How do you scale it up? How do you work more on it and create more and more opportunities? This is where growth programs come into picture. And then being part of the future is basically where we ask the tough questions. How could regulation support your innovation? How could regulation change the policy-making process and so on? And these are where these programs sit in place. Like you see a few examples here where the Regulations Lab or the Dubai Future Labs work very closely with local and federal regulators to kind of scale these innovations outward and globally. But we don't stop at the local or regional level. And that's why we've established the Center of Fourth Industrial Revolution, which was the first affiliate center in the region to basically play on that global platform and really take whatever work that we're doing and put it on a global platform and scale it all the way from there as an opportunity to learn as well from other leading ecosystems worldwide. So a nutshell of the type of programs that we run here, and by program I mean These are like specific time-bound initiatives that have specific outcomes and objectives that we try to serve, and we do it in collaboration with different sets of partners. So our flagship program, which is the Dubai Future Accelerator, it's a cohort-based program, zero equity, where we invite startups from around the world. Historically speaking, 70% have been global, to really interact with our government entities, to really, push the boundaries of innovation. So it's not your typical accelerator, because we don't want to kind of like compete with the private sector, compete with the likes of, Techstars or Microsoft and so on, but really complement the ecosystem and offer a way for these startups to really establish a conversation channel with these government entities and take it forward from there. In our partnership programs, these are all programs that we establish with, partners from the ecosystem, be it global accelerators, be it global ecosystem leaders and developers. Innovation programs are specific, ad hoc, very tactical approaches of programs when it comes to innovation, not necessarily with startups, but in general. And of course, because we're trying to build a community, events and activations, this is an important role in this community. And we try to kind of like mix it up, try to bring different speakers from different domains, just to keep everything fresh at Area 2071. I'll quickly jump into a couple of numbers and impact when it comes to these programs. So we've been running the Accelerators program for about 4 years. We've worked with more than 125 challenges in different sectors, from energy to education to digital transformation and the likes. More than 90 projects were piloted where you can actually see them live in production in the city of Dubai and the UAE. This has, we've established contacts and relationships with more than 200, close to 300 startups, and it's growing as we speak, coming from almost 40 different countries. So that also goes back to the essence of Area 2071. We're not a local ecosystem. We're trying to be a global ecosystem, because we understand that innovation could come from everywhere. Of course, out of these, like 45 startups have decided to relocate to Dubai. So there's also an economic return on the country and Dubai. More than 600 jobs were created over the years. In terms of like economic return, these are the numbers that you can see here. A combined value of these contracts with government entities to up close to 125 million dirhams. So that also tells you that there is an economic return there. But we don't only measure it in terms of like, the amount of economic injection of money and so on, but also on the longer term of creating jobs, upskilling the knowledge workforce and so on. So all of that impact was generated from a program such as like the Dubai Future Accelerator. This is basically our, board of honor. These are all the startups that we have worked with so far. These are our alumni, our heroes. And we'd like to get to a point where one slide is not enough for these logos. So that's kind of like where we're shooting at as we speak. When it comes to partner programs, we've been conducting partner programs with global leading accelerators and vertical specific partners. So Microsoft AI Venture Labs was the region's first venture labs specifically for AI. It was done with Microsoft in collaboration with Microsoft. Techstars have launched two of the region's first accelerators, and now they're permanently set up in the UAE as well. So all of these opportunities that we try to embed in the ecosystem and try to scale outwards. When it comes to innovation programs, again, these are vertical specific. I don't want to go into the details of each one of them due to time, but I'll take one example, which is the Aviation X Lab. That was vertical specific in the aviation industry. It's a partnership between Emirates Airlines, which is the global leading aviation operator, and 4 other global entities like General Electric, Thales, and the likes and so on, is basically really disrupting the industry of aviation. How could we move to a carbon negative industry of aviation, which is a huge challenge, what we call moonshots. And that's why these are labs that take the span of 2 to 3 to 4 years in some cases to actually see the results and outcomes. And finally, when it comes to our ecosystem activations and events, of course, with the pandemic, everything had to shift to virtual, which is case in point, one of the events that we are currently attending. but we kept the flow going. We understand that, you know, things are happening rapidly in the ecosystem and we need to always keep things fresh. Yesterday, we've had a session, a working session on NFTs and why are they important and how do you start creating with that and so on. And the attendees come from all different backgrounds. We've done sessions where we brought in children who are in the age range of 8 to 13 years old to experiment with 3D printing. So our target audience when it comes to events and activations are not your typical experts or futurists or designers or engineers, but also the average citizen out there to really understand, you know, the shift that's happening in the fourth industrial revolution. Globally as well, we've been working with so many different you know, countries and ecosystems and universities and schools and all of that in order to spark these conversations and collaboration opportunities. And one program that we really take pride in is what we call the country in residence. And we've established more than 7 you know, agreements with the countries that you see, one of which, of course, is Luxembourg, to really establish this channel and really allow these opportunities to flourish and work on them. And it's always a dynamic program. It doesn't have a specific you know, template that we follow, but it's very much dependent on what the ecosystem can offer and how can we take it from there. So without you know, taking much more time, and I'll hand it to David soon, it's just that I just want to end with this quote from His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, when he said that the future belongs to those who can imagine it, design it, and execute it. It's not something that you await, but it's something that you rather create. And this is so empowering because it just opens up so many opportunities. It's a clean slate out there, so you can start from wherever you want. And that's basically our day-to-day task. We try to kind of like look for new opportunities and understand the impact of them and really understand what can be done today to create a better future tomorrow. And with that, I conclude my session. I'll hand it back to Hind, and then I look forward for David speaking as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Faisal. And finally, I would like to invite David Foy, Head of International Business Development, Digital Economy at Lux Innovation, to present the strategy and opportunities with a data-driven innovation partner.
Thank you very much, Faisal. That's a very interesting insight into your structure and what's happening in Dubai. I was particularly interested in your last quote there. Nothing comes to those who wait, basically, is what that says, which is, you know, it's true, which is why we're here today to exchange and try and build on the structures and the programs that each country has put into place. So thank you for organizing this session here today, and welcome to the participants we have. My name's David Foy. I'm responsible for business development at Lux Innovation. Lux Innovation, our mission is to promote innovation, research, but also to help growth within the local community by helping local companies go through their digitalization process, by creating clusters, let's say, of companies where we can have critical mass to help them out and help them exchange. You know, we've heard a lot about collaboration here today, and collaboration really is the competition of the future. If we don't work together, then it's going to be a tough drive. And I think the last couple of years, the last 24 months, has really shown us that working together is the best way to get through any problem that's happening in life. So we help the local community. We also help startups come into Luxembourg, help them grow in Luxembourg. We send them through different coaching programs. We provide them with financing. We also have a little group of people who concentrate specifically on national funding and European funding. And then myself, who I used to have the pleasure of traveling the world and meeting interesting people, explaining the opportunities open within Luxembourg. Unfortunately, recently that's become more virtual, but as we said, we will be in Dubai very shortly to start our travel again. Just a quick word on our trade and investment office that's in Abu Dhabi. It's a part of the Embassy of Luxembourg in Abu Dhabi also. They are part of our trade and investment offices around the world. We currently have 9, if I recall correctly, in different continents and different capitals. They are there to help people move into the country. So in this case, to help Luxembourgish-based companies do business with the UAE, but also to help me with my mission in attracting companies from the UAE into Luxembourg. And with that, hopefully now I can explain to you what is Luxembourg. Obviously, you know, it's one of those niche areas that it has a lot of reputation, but until you actually taste it yourself, then it's a bit of a mystery. So what's it like living in Luxembourg? So Luxembourg, we have an incredibly high standard of living, an excellent health system, many different types of schools for different cultures, different nationalities. I would say, as far as the countryside goes, it's probably one of the greenest, if not the greenest country in Europe today. Centrally located, we see on the following slide. There's all kinds of things happening here. A lot of international concerts happen here. Many first-rate artists will either start or end their world tours in Luxembourg, either as a dress rehearsal to start or as an unwind concert at the end. After all, the concert hall here can house 5,000 people only. One of the safest countries in the world. Obviously, you know, with the amount of people that are living in Luxembourg, the amount of foreigners we have here, integration is a very important point of that. So we managed to integrate foreigners very, very easily, and we see that paid back immediately in the type of projects and innovation that happens in Luxembourg. So when we look at the Grand Duchy, it's 2,500 square kilometers. You could probably walk across it in a day, but you could certainly cycle around it in a couple of days. Population, we're around about 630,000 today. About half of that is foreigners, so foreign nationals. Half of the population being foreign, but 75% approximately today of the workforce is foreign nationals. So, you know, you can quite easily imagine a project team with 4, 5, 6, 7 different types of nationalities, which not only brings the language to the table, but also the culture. What we see is different cultures work and think in completely different ways, which is an amazing pot in which a melting pot in which to be creative. Every morning, 200,000 people come across the borders to work in Luxembourg from Belgium, France, and Germany. They bring with them, obviously, the language. Luxembourgish is the national language, which is still, I hate to say that not many people speak it, but in order to take the Luxembourgish nationality, you need to have a basic understanding of the language. French and German is widely spread. It's the national, I would say, the legal languages. However, you can still contract in English here. When you see where we are geographically, we're right in the center of Europe, which is fantastic, again, for a regional sales office or a geolocalization of your product. You can get pretty much anywhere in Europe within a couple of hours, either by train, by plane, by car. And while we talk about trains and buses, all transport in Luxembourg, so all of the transport buses and what have you are completely free for the last couple of years. We can see here some of the multinationals that are in Luxembourg today, either as innovation hubs, as we can see Goodyear here. They've been in Luxembourg for 70 years now, 70 years. They have their only innovation hub outside of North America in Luxembourg. And they're very much contributing to the Luxembourg economy in terms of research, development, and innovation, and as are most of these companies here. Amazon has been here for several years already. You know, they got a bit of a bad rap at the beginning. Why are you in Luxembourg? But today they hired over 2,000 people in Luxembourg, so there is a reason for them being here. as with the rest of these companies. So when we talk about the economy in Luxembourg, you know, we have to diversify. If you have a look at here, this is where we've come from up to, you know, where we are and beyond today. We don't have that luxury of having natural resources in Luxembourg. So we have to continually reinvent ourselves. So at the beginning of time, agriculture obviously was a big one here, being a very green country. We went through iron and steel, and we still have that here today. Industrial diversification through different processes. You know, we heard as well from Goodyear, there's Husky, there's other different industrial players here as well. Obviously, Luxembourg's well known as a financial or fintech center, and that's still the case today. We're the second largest funds under management behind North America. But, you know, again, we're reinventing. And so, you know, we want to be really diversified and have this data-driven economy. We talk about by 2023, but for me, it's already been achieved today. At the European level, the Digital Innovation Strategy or Digital Transformation Program has these 5 points on it. I'm not going to stay on here, but this immediately reflects onto the data-driven innovation strategy of Luxembourg today. So you can see on here, skills is very important. HPC is important, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity. So when we look at our data-driven innovation strategy, so this is the Luxembourgish national strategy, you can see it on these 3 pillars. So the first one is boosting this digital infrastructure. So today, let's take data centers for an example. This was born out of the 1990s, 2000s, when we started building data centers here. Today, we have 40% of European tier 4 data centers at the highest level of security and availability. But that was initially to address the financial institutions. That's evolved over time, and they've become very high density rather than high capacity. So high density, so providing power and cooling to racks for e-commerce and higher calculus processes. When we look at the strong regulatory and IP, we're very lucky here in that our ministers understand business, and they don't only understand the business, they understand the technology that's behind it. We quite often have companies visiting Luxembourg and explaining their technology, even to the Prime Minister or the Minister of the Economy, and they can have an intelligent discussion about it because they understand what is the technology behind it. And by understanding that, they can put in place these regulations that will help boost the growth of that sector or the growth of that technology or application of it. And finally, on the left-hand side here, providing the structures and support in order that people can try these digital technologies. We speak about Luxembourg being a living lab. We have districts that are available, which have universities, cinemas, shopping centers, you name it, it's within that area. We've created an autonomous driving, an autonomous road, if you like, that goes cross-border. So that's between Luxembourg, France, and Germany. So you're not only testing autonomous driving as in the cars, but also the sensors, as in the communication technologies, and not just the technology, but also how the handover and the regulation between different countries happens. Today we have these 6 sectors that we're specifically focusing on. That doesn't mean that these are the only sectors, but it means these are the ones where we're actively today boosting the uptake in them. Industry 4.0, I think, is obviously a very important point. Ecotech or green tech is the second one. We've put smart in there as well, as in smart mobility, because you know that's going to reduce, in my opinion, the amount of traffic on the roads and our ways of actually going around and doing things. Health tech, you know, we've seen that over the last 24 months has become even more important than it was previously. Logistics, I think Luxembourg being in the center of Europe, you know, we have quite a role to play in logistics, not only in air cargo, with Luxembourg having the #1 European cargo hauler with Cargolux, but also within trains and trucking, that there's a role to play there. Space, I'm sure you're all aware of Space Resources, which is an initiative from Luxembourg, spaceresources.lu, you can go and see. We've created over 50 companies in the space sector in Luxembourg in the last couple of years, and even opened the Luxembourg Space Agency here as well now. Financial services, I don't need to talk about because, you know, I think that's pretty much a given. And ICT, or the digital layer, which holds all of this together. Then if we look at the technologies that are holding this, artificial intelligence, HPC, you know, artificial intelligence, we opened an artificial intelligence research laboratory here a couple of years ago now. So this is a partnership with NVIDIA and the University of Luxembourg. Again, it's their first AI laboratory in Europe. So we're very pleased and proud of that. And there's some very high level research happening there. We talked about HPC, so high performance computing. This is, again, a European initiative, Euro HPC, in that every member state will have their own node of high performance computing. Ours came online about 2 months ago. It's running at about 10 petaflops, which will eventually be throttled up to 30 petaflops. 10 petaflops, for those who are unaware of the terminology, is 10 million billion calculations per second. 10 million billion. So, you know, that's better than my calculator, I'd say. Blockchain, and again, an emerging technology. I want to say emerging. It's been around for a while, but it's only starting to become mainstream. Cybersecurity. Well, I put cyber here, which covers cybersecurity. Cyber insurance is a big one for us here, but also cyber identity or digital identities as well is a very important point. And robotics, that comes back into Industry 4.0 also. So very briefly here, and then we'll get into the startup side of this. We recently opened the Digital Innovation Hub, which is, again, a European-wide initiative, which countries will open their Digital Innovation Hub, and then they will become nodes which interlink with different countries. And the idea behind this, so Lux Innovation running the Luxembourg Digital Innovation Hub, is helping Luxembourgish companies identify areas of transformation, and then identifying partners within the country or within the network of the digital innovation hubs to bring in resources, technology, anything that might help. So again, this cooperation is there, the cooperation for people to work together. You know, they could be competitors commercially, but technologically, then, you know, we can find a way for them to help each other. We spoke about accessing finance and the government grants and the attractive IP regime. So by housing your IP in Luxembourg, there are certain benefits that you can have specifically on corporation tax. Within the research environment, let me open this all up. We have private and public sides to this. So the SNT that you can see on the top left is the research arm of the university. It stands for Security and Trust. So this is a group that works on very high level research in terms of, well, you can see it here, right? Cybersecurity, fintech, space systems, IoT. It's mainly IT-based or digital processes. And if you look at the list, which is the Luxembourg Institute of Science and Technology, we heard previously that they are working on a project now for building a digital twin of the entire country. But usually they're working more on materials, so material biology, if you like. Institute of Health, obviously work on biomedical science. And then if we have a look at the bottom, the Luxembourg Digital Innovation Hub we've spoke about. We have Security Made in LU. The anagram of that is SMILE, which is our National Cybersecurity Competence Center. And again, I'll invite you to have a look at their website to have a look at the mapping that was done. Lux Provide is our commercial entity for the high performance computing. The GovTech Lab, which quite often, if you look on their website as well, do calls for tenders for people to participate in creating projects on e-government. And the last one, ESRIC, which is the European Space Innovation Center or Innovation Resource Center, is for space resources. All of this you'll be able to find under Research Luxembourg, which is the umbrella foundation, if you like, that brings them all together. Incidentally, the picture that you see here is the City of Science in Luxembourg. And the building in the center, the little kind of square one, that's where our offices of Lux Innovation are. And what you can see in the center of this kind of apocalyptic picture is what's left of the steel furnaces, or the blast furnaces, when this was a steel district. So they've made that into like a museum, if you like. So let me see the time. I think we're still okay for a couple of minutes. The startup ecosystem today, we have around about 500 startups, and we'll see in the next slide the distribution of that. We heard we have around about 15 incubators in Luxembourg. If you go back 6-7 years ago, there were probably none. So the take-up of that has been quite incredible over the last years. And again, the financing and the events we'll see in the next ones. I realized that the logos here are pretty unreadable, but I think the idea of this slide is pretty much just to show you the distribution of our startups today. So we can see, you know, the different sectors that they're available, that they're active in, such as creative industry space, cybersecurity. Obviously, if we're a data-driven economy, cybersecurity is a big one. Fintech, again, it's always going to be there, and there are some very successful companies that are active in there. Health tech becoming more and more frontline, as we've seen in the last couple of months. So if we have a look, here is like the entire startup ecosystem at a sort of a helicopter view. We have our institutional startup support structures that you can see here on the left-hand side. Lux Innovation being there as well, and I'll talk to you shortly about the programs that we run. But you'll see a lot of things in Luxembourg are called House of something. So House of Entrepreneurship, these are the people who can help you with advice on what kind of structure to set up in Luxembourg, what kind of company structure that you need to set up, how to go about getting the business permits. Again, if anybody's interested in any of these points on here, please get in touch with myself or with the Trade Investment Office in Abu Dhabi, and we'll be very happy to help you. House of Startups is a community full of different startup structures. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I just want to point out a few of them. If we look at the incubators, accelerators, Tomorrow Street is the Vodafone private-public partnership. So between Vodafone and the Ministry of the Economy of Luxembourg. Le Plateau is one of the banking institutions here who set up an incubator. Le Village as well, that's Crédit Agricole, so that's another French bank who set up an incubator. The Loft, which is the Luxembourg House of Financial Technologies, also have a fintech incubator, and etc. You know, they're like we said previously, there's a flavor for every type of startup, and again, that will help you get into the ecosystem of people who will be able to help you. We heard Faisal saying earlier, you know, when you go into Area 2071, just by having a coffee, you can meet people and you can learn something, or you can share a problem. You know, in Luxembourg, we say, in general, we say there are 6 degrees of separation between people, whereas in Luxembourg, there's about 1.5 degrees. So everybody knows everybody. And that really is one of the benefits of the country. It's that networking side. I'm not going to go through the rest of these, but really quickly, the events. We had ICT Spring that you could see here. That was last week. And another one is the Arch Summit. And that's really specifically startup oriented. And the next version of that will be in October of next year. So one of the flagship programs we have at Lux Innovation is Fit for Start. You can go to the website, fitforstart.lu. There's a call that's open at the moment. I believe it's the 12th round right now. And we ask startups globally to send us their pitch and apply for this program. We get normally around about 300 applications. We select about 80, and of those 80, we go through a pitching session, and we select 10, usually in digital technologies, 5 in space technologies, 5 in health tech, for example. And this year also we have a focus on high performance computing. If you get selected, so by being selected for the program, you get €50,000 equity-free funding. which is approximately 200,000 dirham. Then you get 3 months coaching, so that you can go through your business plan, you can go through your go-to-market strategy. A lot of the startups that come through end up pivoting because maybe they've got the wrong angle. And then if you graduate, you get another 100,000 euro in equity-free funding. And again, that's another 400,000 dirham. Many different funding possibilities in Luxembourg. So R&D and innovation, that's through ourselves. So research and development, that's the Ministry of the Economy that gives that. And then there's these various funds as well. I won't dwell on that. If you have any questions, please just reach out to me and I'll be very happy to help you. A couple of success stories. Talkwalker. So this is a monitoring of brands. This started in Luxembourg. You can see here in the year 2009. Today, they're a global company, 319 employees. So a great success for Luxembourg. Again, Doctena. So this is a platform that you can create appointments with doctors or dentists or any kind of medical practitioner. Again, started off 2013, 90 employees today, 1.4 million appointments a month. A great thing, a great application. Job Today, so a recruitment application. Incidentally, these people will be, the representatives of Job Today will be on our mission when we come to see you in a couple of weeks' time. You can see the figures here. Ping Pong is a payment platform. Again, hugely successful, 550 employees today, and they've been around for 6 years. Just before I come to the end of this, I'd like to say just a couple of words on the mission that we're going to do to Dubai. So we'll be arriving in Dubai on the 17th, and the mission starts on the 18th. While I'm talking about this, I'm just going to put up this screen. So these are the people who will be joining us on the mission. These are the companies. Take a picture of this screen, note them down however you feel like, so you can see the different technologies and different types of companies that are coming. On the Monday, 18th, we'll be spending the day at GITEX. The 19th, which is the Tuesday in the morning, we'll be at GITEX again. Then in the afternoon, we shall be with the Dubai Future Foundation for the afternoon. We'll have a little bit of an after-work networking session in the evening, which I would like to invite everybody to. You can see here. Just send an email to ict@cc.lu. So this is for a networking event that will happen at the Jumeirah Emirates Towers Hotel. If you're interested in that, please sign up for it. And then we will be at the expo on the Wednesday and the Thursday. So if anybody wants a face-to-face with myself, with anybody from the LTIO, or anybody from these companies here, then please reach out to myself. You can see me here, david.foy@luxinnovation.lu, or of course to anybody, I guess, at the Dubai Future Foundation who are on this session today. And between all of us, we'll work it out. So with that, thank you very much for your attention today. Again, please reach out to us, check out our websites, and I really look forward to seeing everybody in a couple of weeks' time in a climate which is much better than raining Luxembourg.
Thank you very much, David, for your presentation. And I think it's time to open the floor for the questions. So our first question is for David. How easy is it for setting an entity in Luxembourg for UAE startups?
I want to say it's really easy because that would be the best thing to say, right? But I mean, it depends on many things. First of all, yes, it's very simple. I mentioned previously the House of Entrepreneurship. You can come through myself, send me an email. We'll have a look at your application of what is your startup. You know, what is the reason for coming to Luxembourg? Is there something that we can give you as an added value? So we would already give you that I would say that insight into what you can expect from Luxembourg. And then we would take you through the whole process. So the process of getting the business permit, the process of getting the work permits, the residency permits, and how to go about setting up the company. There is there is a program in Luxembourg that was launched by our previous Minister of the Economy called the 111, which is one person, €1, 1 day to set up a company. So it takes one person with a capital of €1, 1 day to set up a company, which in effect is true, but it probably takes you 3 or 4 weeks to get the business permit before you can do that. So, you know, for me, there's absolutely no hurdles other than, you know, there's some paperwork that needs to be done. Please reach out to me and I'll be happy to walk you through it.
Thank you, David. Another question for you. How to expand startup in Luxembourg?
How to expand a startup in Luxembourg? That's a rather general question. You know, that there's two ways of answering that. One is how to integrate a startup into Luxembourg. And again, that'll be coming through one of the incubators that we have here, or through Lux Innovation. So we can run, you don't have to be part of a program to come to Luxembourg. You can come as a startup and Lux Innovation will give you the support. Everything we do at Lux Innovation is free of charge. We're financed by the Ministry of the Economy. We're financed by the Chamber of Commerce. So we can help in that sense, integrating you into Luxembourg ecosystem. But then if you're talking about expanding into Europe, again, Luxembourg is that place where we've seen 75% of the workforce is foreign. Everybody speaks 3, 4, 5, 6 languages. So doing business from Luxembourg into France, into Germany, into Spain, into Portugal is a very, very simple thing to do. You can use Luxembourg as an environment to test and to make sure that you're compliant with the European rules and regulations as well, specifically in data protection, which is, you know, that's our big one right now. So again, anything that you need to know more details about that, please reach out to me and I'd be very happy to share my information.
Following to your answer, we have another question for you, David. What is the approximate time and cost involved to set up a company and a bank account in Luxembourg for non-European residents?
What is the cost?
Yes.
I think it depends on the complexity. You know, if you can take, in order to set up a company, you need to file your articles of incorporation. And the articles of incorporation need to be prepared and stamped by a lawyer or a notaire. You can take a notaire that will cost you €500. You could take a notaire that will cost you €50,000. So it depends on your way of doing it. I would say in general, you know, if it's a startup and it's not very complex, anywhere between sort of 500 and €1,000 is probably all you need to do, right? Without the capital. Obviously, you need to provide a capital, capitalize the company, and that will also have an effect on the opening of the bank account. So it's quite difficult to say. It's not a huge cost, but it really depends on the company that's coming in, the structure of the company. But again, these are all discussions that we can have, and we can do a tailor-made look at each one of the companies that are interested in finding that out. We work obviously with the House of Entrepreneurship, who can help this, but we also have, I would say, not partnerships, but understandings with some of the big four, such as EY, for example. We quite often reach out to them to have discussion with startups or companies so that they can give them a little bit more understanding of how to go about things.
Thank you, David. A question for Faisal. So one of our attendees is asking about incubators, and is it possible to provide support to entrepreneurs from Arab countries? What is the way to apply?
I mean, short answer is definitely. Like the support that we provide is not exclusive for Dubai or UAE. We have companies who are set up in Area 2071 that come all the way from UK. So definitely we can provide the support, and the way to apply is, I think the easiest way is to land to our website and then, you know, initiate an email request from there, and then we go through our process. The only thing that I would kindly ask anyone who's applying is really to think of Area 2071 as an enabler. So we might not be the best accelerator when it comes to specific programs and verticals, but we have enough in our portfolio to support startups to grow, to land, government contracts and so on, if it is relevant. So just have a think of, what Area 2071 can do for you, and then we'll be more than happy to have that conversation with anyone.
Thank you, Faisal. Next question. How do UAE government support startups?
I think, again, that's a very general question. There's a big movement and a big strategy for the UAE government, whether it's federal or local, to really, boost entrepreneurship and startups. Our Minister of Entrepreneurship and SME was appointed in the last cabinet revision and update. So we have an entire ministry who's looking at that portfolio and agenda. We have at least 3 leading ecosystems in the UAE, Dubai and Area 2071, or the Dubai Future District altogether, including the DIFC, the Dubai World Trade Center. You have one in Abu Dhabi, which is Hub 71, and the Abu Dhabi Investment Office and their ecosystem. Sharjah is also leading in a lot of different sectors and domains through their Shira Incubation Center and the Sharjah Research and Technology Park. So there's a lot of opportunities in the UAE. In terms of numbers, there are at least close to 13 to 15 accelerators and incubators in Dubai itself. Abu Dhabi has a couple of them as well. Sharjah has a couple of them. So the opportunities are all over the UAE. It's just a matter of really understanding what is the best ecosystem depending on your business or your industry or the kind of support that you require. So a lot of, the strategic focus on boosting entrepreneurship and innovation in the UAE is definitely there. There's a lot of capital being injected. There's a lot of investment being made. And it's just a matter of finding the best ecosystem for you. And we're more than happy to support you in that.
Thank you, Faisal. We have a question for both of you, Faisal and David. How not to be afraid of stealing your idea and mechanism to protect your business.
David, would you like to take it?
Sure. I think that's the biggest problem, right? That's the biggest worry of anybody. I have a fantastic idea. If I share it with somebody, somebody's going to take it, but if I don't share it, it's just going to remain an idea. So, I think if you have a look at the Lux Innovation logo, it says Lux Innovation, then underneath it says your trusted partner for business. And I think that's exactly what it is. You need to be able to trust somebody to say, do you know what? I can't do this by myself. I need help. But then you need to correctly select your partner that you're going to do the business with. I think with Lux Innovation, everything that we do with companies is under it's a kind of a non-signed NDA. Anything we do together with companies, it stays between the companies ourselves. We reach out based on an understanding of who we're going to reach out to with find partners to help. It's very difficult to get a patent on just an idea, specifically at startup stage, because it's quite expensive as well. So it's choosing your friends, right? And I think right now everybody is in a situation where they would rather be friends rather than try and be underhanded about things. So I think it's finding the right people, and I think the people around the table that we have today with the Dubai Future Foundation, Lux Innovation, it's a discussion we could have to talk about your idea and see how we can develop that.
If I can add to that, I would give this answer from an entrepreneur's perspective. If you think, or let me put it that way, the chances that your idea is completely new and novel and unique and nobody has thought about it before is close to zero. That's really the situation out there. So if you have an idea and you believe that nobody has thought of, I would urge you to really look into it again. And there is always like this paradox that you have about a window of 6 months to act on your idea. And if you don't, someone else would already do it and proceed with it. So for me, my perspective is it's not really about the idea, but it's about the execution. So don't be afraid of people stealing your idea. That will happen all the time. Even if you do launch a product or a startup, 1 month down the line, you'll have 5 other people who are like, oh, that's a good opportunity, and I'll do the same. So that's going to happen to you sooner or later. The fact that you are considering an idea, someone else has also already done that, but it's all about execution. It's all about vision. It's all about, understanding how to position it, how to sell it, how to really create an experience and impact out of it. That becomes your competitive advantage and not the idea. Because let's face it, we're not short on ideas. Ideas are all over the place. It's execution which really determines, whether this idea goes somewhere or, like David says, stays in your head or in a notebook somewhere on a shelf. So that would be kind of like my approach to it. Don't worry so much about someone stealing your idea, but really focus on creating such a solid execution plan that you wouldn't really be that impacted by competition.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Faisal. So before we wrap up, do you have any remarks? David, Faisal.
I think from my side, if I may, I can see so many similarities between what we're doing in Luxembourg and what you're doing in Dubai, not only in what's in place, but also in the ambitions. We're looking to be, the data hub of Europe. It's very forward facing as well. So I think this is a match that is we have so many opportunities that we can do together in order to help the people who are signed up today, who are listening here, and those who listen to the recording, hopefully. I think there's a lot of work, and I can just see something came through on the chat as I said that, saying, is there a way to combine UAE's and Luxembourg infrastructure for a good international company setup? And it's exactly that. It's exactly that. I think we're at the point now where we're saying, we need to do something together. We're complementary, and it's finding how to put something together to make the journey a little bit more successful for the people here today.
If I can add just one last point, I couldn't agree more with what David said. I think really it's a matter of establishing these global collaboration and channels, because I think everyone realizes now that the world is kind of like becoming smaller, and the opportunities that we need to really tap into are most of the time outside of our normal jurisdictions. And I think this is where, the next shift becomes stuff like, aligning infrastructures that allow companies to cross-operate in different jurisdictions, get exposed to different ecosystems and so on. I think this is where the true value of the next period lies. And I think, having teams and talent and mindset, like, the team at the Lux Innovation and their vision and ambition really supports that mission and inspires us all to get to that, execution phase. So we are more than happy to have established that channel, and hopefully we'll get things in track and in execution very soon.
Thank you. And let me take this opportunity to thank Sasha, David, Amr, and Faisal for today's webinar and presentations. Thank you all for attending the webinar, and we look forward to see you next time, inshallah.